Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to shake it up a bit.
Where the hell did they come from?
In this video, you join me as I start the arduous task of building the Takom 1/35th scale King Tiger with what is known as the Porsche turret. To curb your expectations, I've condensed this video down to the basic hull interior prior to suspension install. Alright, so let's see. Let's go ahead and open up this instruction manual. Dang, there's a lot of sprues. Okay, what's step number 1? You gotta be kidding me. Segmented track. No.
You done lost your damn mind. When you get your damn mind, you call me.
The reason for skipping this is they're gonna be exceptionally fragile, and I know this model's gonna take more than a couple hours to build. So what's step 2? Interior framework? Yeah, I can do that. That's a little bit more realistic. Let's go ahead and get into that. First things first, gotta mount the final drives. Easy enough. What really drew my attention to this model kit is that it is marketed as having scaled armor, meaning the plastic is the scale thickness of what the armor would have been on this tank. Also comes with a small selection of photo etch parts to add realism to the grills of the vehicle. I really appreciate extreme details on a model kit. As you will see later in this series of videos, it will certainly test my patience. If I may, which I think I'm allowed to, because this is my video, I'd like to share some details about this tank throughout the series.
Holy shit, you're a nerd.
I recently placed an order for a couple of reference books, one of which being the story of the unit the tank I'm replicating was a part of. That book arrives tomorrow, so I'll be referencing it in the future videos. However, in the meantime, I'll be relying on information that I've managed to gather so far. At the beginning of the video, I said the turret was identified as the Porsche turret. Well, believe it or not, this isn't quite true. Ferdinand Porsche had nothing to do with the King Tiger development. It was actually Krupp, the warship building company that actually developed the original turret for the King Tiger. This misunderstanding originated from Bovington. Back in the 80s, they had accidentally identified the turret as a Porsche construction. They have since recanted this information and statement. However, it has become such mainstream information that it's near impossible for people to forget it. Post-production hands here. I have a book that is actually copywritten 1969 as a translation of a 1968 book. The English title is German Tanks of World War II, The Complete Illustrated History of German Armored Fighting Vehicles 1926 to 1945 by Dr. F. M. von Sanger und Etterlin, translated by J. Lucas of the Imperial War Museum, London. So, I'm not sure if the Porsche issue comes from the Imperial War Museum, or if it was something actually produced by Porsche. It's still up in the air, but I'm willing to bet that Bovington is right in their assessment that it was something the British came up with in a pinch. Back to the video. The cover of the instruction manual states, and I quote, "The German Tiger Aufs B, or King Tiger, was arguably the very best tank that was put onto the battlefield during World War II." End quote. I have to strongly disagree with that statement. The 8.8 centimeter Kampfwagenkanonen, or fighting vehicle cannon, KWK-43, L71, or 71 caliber lengths, resulting in an overall length of just short of 6.25 meters, was an exceptionally capable weapon. However, the vehicle itself was kneecapped by its powertrain. The King Tiger was originally planned to share its components with the proposed Panther II. However, the Panther II got stuck in development hell and eventually canned, and with it, the development of the cross-compatible components. So Henschel did what they could in a pinch, and that was to take the powertrain from the Tiger I, a vehicle 20 tons lighter, or 2/3 the overall weight of the Tiger II. This resulted in a vehicle with a service life solely dependent on its powertrain, specifically the final drives, which would usually give out within the second top off of gas. Now, it's my understanding that the Maybach HL230P30 is derived from the Tiger 1's Maybach HL230P45, the big difference being a slight variation in displacement in the Tiger 2's favor, that and the metallurgy of the block being of cast iron, allowing for a slight uptick in power, but still, the weakest link of the Tiger 2 was final drives. If you're enjoying the info dump, let me know with a comment. If you haven't subscribed, how about you consider subscribing? Drop a like even if you're liking it so far. Let me know what you think. I appreciate you. I really must give it to Takom. They've done a phenomenal job modeling this kit, and I'm truly pleased with the details. It's going to be fantastic once it's all put together, and I have quite a few ideas on that. But a little bit more on that later. Let's go ahead and fast forward and get this stuff done. If you made it this far, leave a comment of Liberty Bell, so I know you made it to the ping. These torsion bar frames are a bit of a hassle, but in all honesty, it's not too bad at the moment. A little bit later, you might catch a glimpse of one of them going crazy, especially in the next video when I had to run a torsion bar past. I guess the frame and the torsion bar had a disagreement, and yeah, the frame lost that fight. I know in the instructions in the background, you can see that the walls have already been installed before I put this lever in. The thing is, I want to be able to have access to paint the walls, so I'm going to prime the walls and the hull together at the same time, and then I'm going to paint the panels, and then finagle this line back into the wall. It's kind of backwards, but it was the easiest way that I found to try and put this all together and make it look right. I will admit, some of the diagrams that Takom uses are a bit confusing, just because they have a couple of components that they're trying to line up in the same image. And I understand they're doing that so that then the instruction manual doesn't look more like a maintenance manual for a Tiger tank. But sometimes the arrows get a little skewed. Fortunately, I haven't installed anything in the wrong spot yet, knock on wood. But there's definitely plenty of time left for me to make that mistake. Now for the interior, my understanding is the lower hull was painted in the oxide primer red, and to replicate that the best, I've found using Mr. Surfacer Mahogany Brown, followed by a mix of Vallejo's Whole Red and Bloody Red 5:1 through an airbrush gets me pretty close. Now I understand there's a halo alongside one of the rails. I don't necessarily need to worry about that because the fuel tank on the wall is going to cover that later on in the video, or in the next video. Long story short, you won't be able to see the halo. You'll see me correct the boo-boo, okay? It's going to be okay. Fusraba. Fusraba. Now these parts on the wall that I'm painting gray, I'm not entirely certain what they are, but I would hazard a guess from my experience being an armored vehicle driver that they are replacement periscopes. I don't understand why there's two on the bow gunner's side, because he only has one, but maybe that's what it's for. Either, like, I haven't found anything to really discredit my assumption on this, but I'm just painting them gray simply because it's what the instruction manual has them painted as. So if anybody knows exactly what they are, let me know. I'm all ears. I do appreciate that Takom includes 2 pages in the back of the manual, as you can see in the background, of just strictly color images of interior components and the like. However, it's not super in-depth, and it doesn't really explain what things are entirely, and it kind of leaves a lot up to interpretation. For this tube on the bow gunner side, I'm basing it in khaki, and then I'm going to paint the framework in black. While that tube dries, I'm going to go ahead and start picking out the first aid kit sitting behind the bow gunner. Now these were generally painted in a light green, and unfortunately I don't have the exact color, but I'd managed to mix a very close analog to it by means of mixing pale gray blue and flat part green by Vallejo. They managed to work out, and so I'm going to keep doing that for the rest of the first aid kits. What's really weird is the instructions say they're dunkelgelb, which is the typical German camouflage dark yellow. And the image is definitely not yellow. Well, I have the black paint out to paint the framework on that tube on the bow gunner side. I'm going to go ahead and start picking out some other details within the interior with the black paint. It's one of those, hey, I've got the paint out, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm also going to start picking out some piping in black because I want to hit that with aluminum paint later, and that'll help bring a better shine to the silver or aluminum paint that I'm going to use, and it keeps it from picking up a color tint from an underlying paint. Now I'm attaching one of the 7 fuel tanks. This one is going to be the interior right side, and there's another one that goes on the left, but you'll see that one in the next video. I've decided to pick out this pipe in silver. It appears to be a case of some kind, as it terminates literally in itself, and there's no feeder, no dump into a wall or anything like that, so I'm assuming it's a case for something. Maybe a single tube periscope? That's possible? I'm not sure, but maybe. If you know anything about it, please, by all means, let me know. While I have the aluminum paint out, I will also pick out other sections of plumbing in the interior and start my chipping effects on the edges of the interior. As you can see, I'm being rather liberal with this chipping effect. It's not uncommon for armored vehicle interiors to be chewed up like crazy. People are walking in there in boots with mud on them, they drag stones in, they drop bits of metal, you drop a bolt, screwdriver, you name it, it's going to chip the paint off. So I'm being really liberal here with this application. The real trick is just to make sure that you're putting it in realistic locations, like sharp edges or anything that juts out. That would generally get a chipped surface. You normally wouldn't see too much of it on flat surfaces, however, it does occur. Now later on, I will be aging and weathering the interior to make it look more dingy and more realistic as well. I know we have less than a week until New Year's, but I would really, really love to see the channel break 125 subscribers. Heck, even 100. If we manage to break 100 subscribers, I'll do a live stream. How about that? I'll set up a live stream and announce it in advance so everybody can participate, and I'll make sure that it's planned on a weekend in the upcoming month. We'll be able to do it, and we'll all be able to communicate and chill and talk. What do you guys think of that? There you have it. that's the first iteration on the Tiger 2. In all honesty, I had about 7.5 hours of video recorded that I wanted to try and condense down into something a little more digestible, if you will, and consumable. But in all honesty, there was no way I was going to neck that down to anything short of 40 minutes without severely reducing the quality of the work. It would have just been shotgun blast of, here's my stuff, admire it. And I don't want to subject you guys to that. I want to put some quality into the work. I want to actually put an effort into this. This is something I enjoy doing. And I want to say thank you for everybody who's made it this far. And I appreciate every single one of you. And I want to wish you guys happy holidays and a happy new year. I'll see you in the next one.